Supriya, sources in the BJP say this has nothing to do with the government. This is a private group and they need to answer for their own actions. And why link this with the government? Yes, there are certain research reports that have come out. That's something that's being looked at. This has nothing to do with the BJP government at all, so don't link us. And why is the opposition trying to stall parliament?
Well, they would well say that, but are you willing to take that at face value? Because the individual in question has on record, and the Prime Minister on record, spoken about their relationship. The Prime Minister first as Chief Minister and then as Prime Minister conducted his election campaigns on his planes. There are pictures of them together. Everybody knows how that monopoly came into being. Everybody knows how from 680th number in the world of richest people in the world, Mr. Adani jumped to number 2. So, I mean, let's not take everything that the BJP sources say at face value. I really want to take the debate forward because I heard you have a conversation with Udayan on LIC. And I think questions need to be asked and they also need to be answered. And where else but the Indian Parliament? Because LIC and SBI are huge financial giants institutions. LIC has 30 crore policy holders. SBI has 45 crore account holders. Both of these institutions have huge exposure to the Adani group.
No, but you saw in that statement pulled out by LIC that they said that the LIC said in that statement that they put out that Adani chips that they invested in were investment grade as per their investment mandate, and therefore it fit into their investment mandate. And B, they said they entered at about 30,000 crore rupees. The value of the stocks at that time was 50,000 crore rupees. So they said we made substantial returns. So who's the pressure to question what we are doing and why? It fits into our investment mandate.
That's a fake and specious argument if you ask me. And I will tell you why. Because in Finance 101, there is something called the time value of the rupee. If 10 years back you invest 100 rupees and 5 years later that 100 becomes 1,000, but again 5 years later at the end of 10 years it becomes 200, you don't say my 100 has become 200. You mourn the fact that the 1,000 has become 200. And that is exactly how finance and debt markets around the world work. That concept is called mark to market. Any financial journalist or any financial expert will tell you mark to market is how financial institutions work. That's how CAGR, the compounded annual growth rate, is reported. So this is absolute hogwash by the LIC. Quite frankly, the LIC, which took money of policy holders, has squandered that money on an asset which was rather risky. And if you ask me, if I may go ahead and actually, step ahead and say something, it's a diversified institution. And they have to be answerable to the people of this country because the government of India is a majority shareholder. Why is the government shying away from a debate in Parliament? Why is the government shying away from a JPC? Joe Johnson, the director on Elara Capital, has had to quit his position. Heads are rolling at Elara Capital, but heads are not rolling at SBI and LIC, and not a squeak from the Security and Exchange Board of India, the SEBI, which is supposed to protect the minority shareholders. What about the minority shareholders of Adani Group or the crores of shareholders in India's stock markets? Who's ring-fencing them? Who's protecting them? Is the government not responsible? And everybody knows the bonhomie that Mr. Adani has shared with Mr. Modi, the complete monopoly that he has created at the behest and with the good wishes of the government. So let's not shy away from that. Mr. Adani is a leading monopoly in ports, he's a leading monopoly in airports, he's a leading monopoly in foods and agriculture, including godowns, warehouses, seed, edible oil, food, all of that. He's a leading monopoly in renewable energy and he's a leading monopoly in cement. He has about 10 listed entities. He's going to list 5 more in 2023. All of those sectors intrinsic to India's economic growth story. And the economic growth story can't fall apart because one man decided to overvalue his shares by 42 times, or that he's saddled with debt, or the fact that there was huge round-tripping happening. And one second, Rahul, one last thing that I want to say. In July 2021, the finance minister told Lok Sabha that Adani Group was being investigated by SEBI. It's been 18 months. What has that investigation led to? Can the Modi government keep quiet? Can institutions and regulators look the other way? Where is institutional accountability? That is what we are asking.
Abhishek Basu Malik. Now, there are those who support the Adani Group who will say, you know, the market attaches a certain valuation. It's not Mr. Adani who's sitting and doing his own valuation. The market attaches a certain valuation to Adani stocks. He has shown greater ambition, greater hunger, greater audacity than most other Indian groups, and his market value has gone up. Now there's a research report, the markets are reacting negatively to that. This will settle at some point in time, but there is no criminal culpability that is proven in any way, and therefore why should Parliament be stalled? I mean, what sense does this make? This is a matter for the financial markets, and that's the way it should be dealt. You're looking at all that's going on. How do you respond to what we're seeing in Parliament and in the markets?
So, very difficult to actually discuss what is going on in Parliament. I think, that will take its own course. But I can definitely talk about what's going on in the market. And, in the markets, we've seen this before. Whenever we see a particular stock or a particular set of stocks as an industry, which goes up beyond a certain, intrinsic value, a part of it comes from the cash flows and a part of it comes from sentiment. Now, sentiment, as long as it was strong, it was going up. Today, sentiment has weakened. So it's like a pendulum, right? So now the pendulum is swinging on the, downwards. So that is what is exactly happening right now.
No, it is, but how long do you see this go on for? And the issues that are being raised by Supriya Shrinate and those in the opposition about the need for a probe, whereas those who will support the group will say, you know, the market is showing certain volatility. Mr. Adani himself has acknowledged that, and at a certain point in time, this froth will settle and the market will find a new low, and then life goes on as normal.
Yeah, I mean, I think like Udayan said earlier, it's anybody's guess where the low is going to be, because, in an environment where news flow is so strong, and we are getting news which is coming in every day, maybe, multiple times a day, it's very difficult for, stock to understand where the bottom is going to be and how the stock is going to react. So, technically, probably we are close to a 200-week moving average. But in a very news-driven kind of environment, those kinds of things have no meaning, right? It can fall further. It could stop tomorrow for all we know. I mean, it's absolutely impossible for anyone to predict what is going to happen, especially when there is so much of news flow that's happening.